Welcome back to Mastering Thought. I am here with Mark. My name is Christina, and we are going to get into some good stuff today.
I'm excited too. So
Yoo-hoo.
we got tons and tons of questions after our this whole series we've done with you and Helena and awakening and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So I thought we'd go through some of those questions and then get your
Awesome.
answers and takes on them as well.
Okay, we pull these babies up on this. So, before we start with anyone else's question, I've been having the experience the last couple weeks of realizing, and I think Helena helped me realize it, but that my ego is starting to try to climb out of its um, place it was put in after my awakening. And I was just wondering, am I supposed to continue thought watching after having an awakening to keep the benefits of the awakening?
So this is an excellent question because I get it all the time. I mean, I get it all the time. People have
Mm-hmm.
this breakthrough moment, and but everybody can't comes to my therapy with an emotional issue of some kind or another.
Sure. Yeah.
Depression, anxiety, stress, whatever it is, relationship problem. And the key to that is to be able to look into your past and see how the dots are connected between your emotional reactivity today and what happened to you, emotional learning as a child.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this makes complete sense that they would ask this question because they assume then working on their issues is going to involve thought watching.
Mm-hmm.
But it actually doesn't.
Okay.
The thought watching is a standalone, abstract mental exercise that creates an awakening.
Okay.
Once you're awake, you're awake. Okay, you may have times when you backslide and you go back into the drama of your life, and you might want to go back
Yeah.
to the thought watching just to get you back into the awareness that you originally experienced when you woke up.
Yeah.
Okay, but when you start working on your emotional baggage that you brought with you into the current world from your childhood, the thought watching is not the tool you want to use.
Okay.
So, you find that you're desperate for approval or you're insecure or you're jealous or whatever it is. Those patterns, those emotional patterns are always tied to your early childhood experiences. And all you need to do is ask.
Just to give a real example, last night I was thinking, I really got to talk to Mark about this tomorrow because I've noticed that it's easier for me to get really selfish and like a little bit unhelpful with my kids when I'm tired, which, whatever, we get tired at the end of the day. But I was thinking this wasn't really a struggle for me before, right after the awakening. I could just sort it out and do what I thought was the right thing to do in the moment. But so maybe when I'm feeling selfish, is that the moment where I say, why am I being selfish right now? What happened before that was making me feel like I had to be selfish to get what I needed, or something like that?
Right. And see, that's a perfect example because what you're doing is you're using your newfound awareness, your self-awareness, to
Hmm.
ask the question, okay, I'm in this mood or this feeling or pattern, whatever it is. Okay, where
Yeah.
does this come from?
Okay. And so
Now,
then,
now you
go
can
ahead.
just easily see where it comes from. Whereas
Okay.
before you
So
couldn't.
then, okay. So same deal. So I don't create an answer with my thinking mind, and I keep asking the question until my non-conscious floats up the answer to me.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And when the
Yeah.
answer comes, because you've had this awakening, you can immediately see it. It's like, oh, okay, I know where that's coming
Yeah,
from.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. And it's similar when I'm working on bodies where I do a lot of nonverbal dialogue with their bodies, and I just know it in my gut. I feel the yes or no or
Right.
in my gut.
That's right.
So I'm looking for those kinds of cues, and so should the people practicing.
Right. And so let's just distill it down. So you have a problem with some kind of emotional reactivity.
Yeah.
You're you're impatient, you're anxious, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay, there's always an analog to that because we learn about emotions from the limbic system when we're little kids. So there's
Yeah.
always an analog to what we're feeling today in our childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And so all we have to do is ask to be shown, and we see it's there. The answer is just right there.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as you connect the dots, you feel that aha moment. You feel that sensation in your body that you get it, and then you feel it lift off you at that point.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that process does not involve the thought watching particularly because you already know that you're not the voice in your head, and
Right.
and you realize you're being tricked. You just need to go in and look. Where is this coming from?
Right. Okay. So then let's say I get the answer, um, and then I test it and then my gut tells me, yeah, that's it. Then when I'm in that scenario, I remind myself, like, hold on, this is
Right.
not, you're not five anymore. This
Right.
isn't your situation anymore. Is this
Right.
something that you think is fitting for right now, or what would you rather have yourself do, or things like that?
Well, yeah, and you don't have to analyze it too much because you just recognize, okay, this is my pattern. Here it is again. All right, I get it.
Okay. Make it a little simpler.
And you just acknowledge, okay, I've been programmed to feel this way. I know where the programming comes from. I get it, and then you just move on. It loses its grip
Mm-hmm.
over you. It's like cockroaches in the kitchen. As soon as you turn the light on, they scurry underneath the refrigerator.
Right. Right.
And so the same thing applies here. As soon as you turn the light on of your awareness, the problem basically disappears.
Scatters. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
And the only
Appreciate
reason
that.
that happens is because earlier you did the thought watching and you woke up.
Cool.
But in the
That's
moment, the
very
two
cool.
are not necessarily connected.
Okay. That's great.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, let me look here at some of these questions. Are you ready to be interviewed, Mark? All eyes on you. Okay, no pressure. I'm just kidding. All right. So, one of the questions is what inspired you to write Mastering Thought? And my additional pointed question is where were you at in your life? What experiences had you had that made it a powerful enough goal to finish it?
Well, this is a little complicated. So after I wrote The Dance of the Lion and the Unicorn, I I got the whole concept of the thought watching and all that, and so I wrote a sequel
Mm-hmm.
called Awakening,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a great book, and it's got some of the material that is in Mastering Thought. But as time went by and I worked with more and more people on the thought watching, I suddenly realized I probably needed to write a book that stripped out the lion unicorn
Mm-hmm.
stuff and just
Mm-hmm.
focused on the thought watching exercise and what happens in the brain and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so that was the inspiration for it. I thought, okay, I need a shorter, simpler book that just shows people going through the process so they can learn this, that doesn't include necessarily a lot of other extraneous stuff.
Yeah. It's
Because the
really
awakening goes into
focused.
Eastern thought and a whole bunch of other things, and it also includes,
Right.
because it's a sequel, it includes the lion unicorn material. And
Mm-hmm.
so I thought by stripping all that out and just focusing on the exercise and the voice in your head, that would be a clean experience for somebody who was just concentrating on that. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where it came from.
Yeah. Cool. That's so smart. I was, yeah, like my brain was making this Venn diagram that like one circle is lion and unicorn, one circle is yeah, awakening, and the middle is no, sorry, the middle would be awakening, and the other circle is mastering thought, correct?
So they came in
Sorry.
sequence: Dance of the Lion and Unicorn, then
Yeah.
Awakening, and then Mastering Thought.
Right. So if the Venn diagram was lion and unicorn, mastering thought, and this is awakening, correct? The middle
Uh,
part of the Venn diagram has
sure,
both
sure.
elements. Okay.
No, the awakening, yes, the awakening has both elements.
Both
Correct.
elements. Okay, because I want to make that super clear for people that were ready to buy a book and wanted to know which one to start with. So, Lion and Unicorn, for those listening, is more about like personality types and how you can improve your relationships by simply
Right,
understanding the way that you're pre-wired
right,
and the way that that interacts with other people in your life.
right.
And then mastering thought is solely about awakening and it's stripped down, like about having an awakening.
It's about the
Okay.
process. Yes, it's about the process of discovering you're not the voice in your head.
Yeah. Okay. And if you're ready to get both pieces of information at the same time, then you want the book Awakening.
Right. You know, it
Okay.
reminds me years ago is when I finished The Lion and Unicorn, I gave the manuscript to one of my clients, and it was a man. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, relationship book. He's probably not going to like this. He's going to think it's for chicks.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes in the next week, and he says, I really like the book, but I have one question. And I said, what's that? He says, do Pat and Angie make it?
So cute.
That
So
was
cute.
hilarious.
You're all, I'm only allowed to tell you the answer because it's not their real names and I'm not violating HIPAA.
I told him, I said, you realize that those people are not real in the book. He's like, I know, but do they make it?
What does your gut tell you?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Now let me
Um,
just say one more thing about that. Then
yeah.
the Awakening book opens with Pat and Angie coming back to therapy. Now
Hmm.
this is really interesting. So what's happened in the book is that Pat has had this enormous awakening experience, just like Helena did in the last episode.
Yeah.
And he was in bliss, he was in nirvana, and it lasted a
Hmm.
few days, then it went away. Now he's desperate to get the feelings back. And that's what brings
Hmm.
him back to therapy. It's very interesting.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Ooh, I love it. Um, okay, so actually, do you want a popcorn? Do you want to read a question, or do you want me to read the next question on my list?
if you would read the next one, I don't have the list. So,
Okay, so um, some of these have been some of these I'll read, but for those that were curious, that way they can get the answer, but don't really need a lot of time.
okay.
Can you explain the concept of thought watching in simple terms? Yes, we have. Um, and actually, Mark has a really great written out thing on it too. But that is where you, in a calm mood, you sit down and you think of, or you watch for an everyday thought that has no emotion attached to come pop up in your mind. And then you just acknowledge the thought. That's all you do, and it goes away.
That's
And
it.
you do that two, 3 times a day, every day until your awakening comes.
That's correct. That
Yeah.
simple.
Okay. Um, and are there any challenges or obstacles that people commonly face when trying to practice thought watching? Yes, we have 2 whole episodes on it. I'm
Hmm.
sorry if you don't want to watch it for an hour, but if you're really struggling with it, it's absolutely worth the time investment. Absolutely. Yeah. So, and those videos are the two previous to the one that talks about me having an awakening. I think,
Hmm.
um, and they're named something like problems that come up within thought watching or problems with disillusionment or something.
Yeah, I'll look while we're talking, see if I can come up with the answer.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, someone was asking, uh, okay. It seems like they heard about thought watching, but didn't necessarily watch the videos yet. So they're asking, how is thought watching beneficial to our mental health and well-being? And simply put, it just um, simplifies your thought life, period, but also helps you to not, in my experience, I'm not the pro like Mark, but in my experience, it also helps me to understand that the voices that pop up are not necessarily telling me the truth. And it's not necessarily coming from what I would think would be a highest ideal. And so it just helps you not worry about the monkey chatter and not feel like you should be ashamed for what you're thinking when
So,
it's not really coming from you anyway.
from my point of view as a clinician, it's the key to relationships, depression, anxiety, and stress. Because when you believe you are your thoughts, you suffer. When you
Mm,
disidentify from your thoughts, the suffering goes away. Now, life is painful, but suffering is all the thinking we do about the pain. And
mm.
in that regard, I believe the episode you were referring to is Mastering Thought Disidentification, Negating Pitfalls and Unraveling Misunderstandings. I think that's the one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'll put
Yeah.
a
And
I'll
then the,
put an end card on the video when we post it. So,
oh, that's a great idea. Okay. Stay tuned. I want to do what YouTube people do and like, here's the link. And then
well,
it's
the
just like
problem with that
right
is if
there.
they go click the link, now they're out of the video they're watching. I'm not sure I like that.
True. Yeah. I have to use the Apple button and the T, and that opens up a new tab without losing your other one.
Oh, okay. See, you're a more advanced user.
I was lucky to have started using these things when I was willing to learn. I feel technologically stunted now in a lot of ways. Okay. Mm, okay, this is a great one actually. How can thought watching contribute to better decision making, Mark?
Oh, so thought watching leads to an awakening, and after the awakening, you can see what your true motives are.
Mm-hmm.
And so when your motives are prompted by the ego mind, your decision making is all messed up. It's all
Mm-hmm.
messed up by your emotional issues, your need for revenge and retaliation, and all this whole unconscious
Yeah.
emotional agenda. But after you've awakened, you can very clearly see what's motivating a decision that might not be in your best interest. And so
Mm-hmm.
it clears all that up almost instantaneously. So
Sure.
that's the benefit for decision making. So
I can easily see that. And to support your point, when I had my awakening, I was explaining something that was a decision I had made based on my ego. And that's when I had to
right,
explain it to my husband that I was like, wait, this doesn't match up with what I want. And then boom, it just
right.
the sands shifted. Um, yeah, and that's such a cool way. Like, I like hearing you talk about it in a way that's not personal to me in conjunction to when like you're talking to me personally or talking to another guest personally because you already know that that's what awakening does, but I didn't see it as broadly as that. I just saw what my experience was, or Helena's, or whoever else will be on our show later.
Well, and it's really
Um,
important to me to be awake when I'm working with people as a therapist because I need to know what's about me and what's about them. And if my ego wants to
mhm.
make it all about me, then that's not going to be a very good session for them.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yes. Um, okay. Are there any potential pitfalls or risks associated with thought watching?
Yes, there is one, and that is that you won't live in the drama anymore. Now, that sounds like a benefit, but a
Right.
lot of people have lived so much in the drama that when the drama goes away, it's very scary.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you've been on the Jerry Springer show for your life and all of that turmoil goes away, it can take a while for you to feel confident you have your footing. And
So
so,
what would you encourage for someone to do if they find themselves in that situation?
stay with the work until they feel grounded.
Okay. So
Bec-
continue to thought watch, or like how you suggested afterwards, now that you've had the awakening, you tie it back to early emotional learning.
No, what I'm saying by when I say stay with the work is, read the books. See, once you're awake, now you can go read Eckhart Tolle's book, Power of Now, and it'll make perfect sense. So,
Mm.
you can go back and read The Lion and Unicorn, and it'll be a brand new book, literally. So
Mm. Ooh, maybe I'll read it again.
stay in the growth work where the ideas came
Okay.
from that got you where you are, and that will help you settle into this new perspective. But ripping the drama away is sometimes uncomfortable. Most people love it; they're done with the drama. But for a lot of people, that's their only reference, and when you take it away, it can be a bit scary. So, you know,
Yeah, for sure. And that has to tie back with where you are emotionally comfortable, right?
yeah,
That your brain like it's almost like a thermostat. You like more drama or less drama, and this is, like I guess your needle is set somewhere, and it's difficult to change where your needle is.
yeah.
Did
So
I say that well?
I've had a very few people over the course of 25 years go back into the drama because they were so addicted to it.
Mm,
It's very sad to see,
hmm.
but that's the main thing. It's like a divorce. When you go through a divorce, your whole identity is tied up in being with this other person, and now when they're gone, well, the same thing as getting a divorce with from your ego. When the ego's gone, it's like you don't know who you are anymore, and
Mm,
you got to go find
yeah.
that new person.
Hmm. Sure.
And it sounds kind of twisted, but that's just kind of the way it works out sometimes.
Yeah, I think we've all had experience, or, some people are the people that they just are addicted to drama. And as soon as something gets better, they find the next problem.
That's right. Right.
Yeah. So actually, just to tease that out, so you're saying stick with the work. Like if someone finds themselves in that position and they're a little bit nervous because of no longer having that thing that was comforting and known to them, they just stick with the work, and maybe read more of the books
Not
and
necessarily my books, but there's a whole literature out there of enlightenment. There's tons of YouTube channels. There's all kinds
yeah.
of information, but you just need to reinforce this good thing that's happened to you so that you don't get disoriented and then stumble back into the darkness.
Mm-hmm. And maybe a little pinch of that, oh, this is my pattern. I'm acknowledging it so I
Right.
can I can escape it. Yeah. Okay.
Some people wake up and they have no reference for what happened to them. They don't have anybody in their life they can talk to about it. Nobody understands,
Totally. Mm-hmm.
and they're
Mm-hmm.
just they're just their world is rocked, and so
Mm-hmm.
that can be disorienting.
Sure. I if I can tie in a little body work piece on this too. Um, what we have going on in our mind, and especially thoughts that we push away, they really do get stuffed into the body,
Hmm.
and they stay there until you process them. But sometimes with certain types of nervous system work, like craniosacral, like polarity. Um, some of those will actually, as you're unwinding that spot on your body, and massage can even do it too. Yoga does it too. Like so many things do it. But when you start to stretch out that part of the body or work that tissue, all of a sudden your consciousness is aware of whatever memory or feeling you pushed away, whatever you're hiding from yourself will come float up. And this is a new chance for you to intentionally process it and it will go away. But if you don't get rid of and you don't process it, it just goes right back down and keeps you stuck. So sometimes with craniosacral therapy, if you're stuck in talk therapy, it might be beneficial to consider getting body work done, and maybe that will help you unlock to the next milestone you want to get to. And I would think it would be the same thing. Just alone, I can think of three joints in your spine that if those are compressed, they cause depression. It's not that you have something emotionally wrong. And I even got to be the demo for the class for one of those joints. And they said, "What did it feel like?" I said, well, it feels really happy. It feels like someone took away sadness that I didn't know I had, and now I'm really grateful. And that was just a physiological thing. My occiput was too tight to my C1, and that's it.
Wow.
So I would say if you feel stuck in any area of your personal improvement, consider getting some type of body work or doing some yoga or something like that.
Great.
Alrighty. Question. Uh-oh. Took away all my questions. Mark Waller. Oh, shoot. And I had even the next question picked out. Oh, I know what it was. At what age is it no longer beneficial to start thought watching?
None. There's no limit. And what's interesting about that is what I find is people's issues when they're 75 are the same as when they're 25. Now there's a difficulty teaching thought watching to people under 25 because their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed, and so insight
Mm,
work is a little
okay.
difficult. But
Okay.
I've got clients who are close to 80 and they're doing thought watching and getting benefits. So no,
Oh, good.
no, I'm
So
not sure.
even if you're sick right now, you should start thought watching.
Ah, well, and you don't have to be sick either.
True. True. Yeah. Uh, okay. Some of these questions are already like they were already answered. They were just
Okay,
answered through other questions, so I'm going to skip those.
let's take a couple more.
Um, I'm trying to understand what they're getting at. The question is, what role does self-reflection play in the practice of thought watching?
Oh,
And
okay,
yeah, I feel like you have to, I don't know. I should just let you answer it, but can I make one guess before you go?
go ahead.
It's like a game show. Am I going to get it right? Uh, so I would say self-reflection can also harm you in thought watching because it can detour you from how simple thought watching is. So, but at the same time, it is an act of self-reflection because you're seeing what's going on in yourself. So,
Yeah, everything. I agree with everything you just said.
yes,
So
$500
self-reflection.
on the board.
the problem with the term self-reflection is it brings on the idea of analysis.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yes.
And the thought watching is, if you analyze the thought watching, it's not going to work.
Right.
But as you just said, it's a form of self-reflection. It's the most basic form of self-reflection. All you're doing is witnessing your own mental activity.
Yeah.
And ironically, when you do that, the mind goes quiet. Of course, there is no mind, but that's the way we like to say it.
Yeah.
So it is a form of self-reflection, but it's not as complicated as the term self-reflection would lead you to believe.
Hmm. Have you actually explained on an episode why you say the mind is a construct?
I'll explain it just really quick. It's very simple. Look, think about this trap. We believe we are the voice in our head because we identify with it. Okay, now
Right.
when we identify with our mental activity, we call it the mind. So we just have another form of identification. But there is no mind as such. All there is an observer in mental activity. There's no mind.
Hmm.
So there's no third thing called a mind. So the problem
Hmm.
is identifying mental activity as the mind precludes you from understanding that what you're really referring to is awareness itself.
Mm.
And so there's only two things. There's mental activity and awareness. We
Hmm.
refer to it as the mind, but it's not helpful to think of it that way.
Okay, I think that's good. That's a good.
And when I tell people that, they're like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, of course.
Yeah.
Because they're in meditation and they're looking for their mind, and it ain't there.
Hmm. Yeah.
One more.
Uh, well, we actually kind of already answered it. How can we apply the principles of thought watching in our everyday lives to create positive change? And so, before the awakening, you should do it 2, 3 times a day. And after the
Mm-hmm.
awakening is when you shift to acknowledging what patterns you have and being observant of them so that you can break free of them. Correct? After the awakening?
Yeah, and so you're not actually using the thought watching ever to solve a problem. You're only
Right.
using it to experience an awakening into self awareness. Once you're
Okay.
self aware, now you can see. It's like turning on the light. Now the light is on. Now you can see the exit. You can get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no direct relationship between the exercise of thought watching and solving a problem in the moment. What the thought watching did was it gave you the tool to solve the problem. What's the tool?
Mm-hmm.
The tool is awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome.
Anything
Well,
else
I
on the
want to
list that jumped out at you before we go?
No, we answered everything. I just wanted to thank people for sending questions, and I'm sure we'll do this again sometime. So if you have questions, please don't hesitate to email us or make a comment.
Well, let me before we go, let me mention that here are our email addresses: Christina at masteringthought.com and Mark at masteringthought.com. They're the books we talked about today.
Hmm.
Dance the Line, Unicorn, Mastering Thought, and Awakening. And the Dance of the Line and the Unicorn is now an Audible book. And I
Woohoo!
noticed that when you go to Amazon, over in the left-hand corner, there's an option to go to the Audible book. So you can either go to
Ah,
audible.com and look for it, or find it on Amazon and then just click
okay.
Audible and it takes you to that area.
Hmm.
But there are the
I,
email addresses if you want to reach out to us.
I'm excited. I'm gonna pick that up. I'm very curious about you saying that that book reads completely differently once. you have gone through an awakening. And I think it would be very cool to be able to listen to it on audio.
I've
So,
heard that several times from people. When they went back and read it, and it's like, oh man, now it's really alive. Okay, I get it.
yeah. Well, and I mean, it's easy when you're reading a book to pause and see if anyone's around that would benefit from hearing the thing that you
Uh huh.
made an impression on you. But it's such a different experience to, like, let's say, my kids are doing their own thing, but they're in the room and I have it on. Like, I want them to be getting those tools too, whatever they passively catch. And they will come back and ask me questions about things that, they heard. And it's such a great opportunity for me to share what my understanding of it is, or why I think that's so cool that they heard it or whatever.
Well, Martin Landry, who produced the book and narrated it, he's in the middle of the book and he sends me this big long email. Oh my God, I'm a unicorn and I can see how I messed up my first marriage and all this stuff. And so it actually changes
Hmm.
you in the reading of the book or the hearing of the book. So it's interesting,
Whether you're recording it or not.
right? He had to re-record
That's so
some
cool.
parts because he busted out laughing a few times. So
Uh, that's so great.
all right.
Well, what about you, Mark? Anything else you can think of to say before we close?
No, we've got some special guests coming up in the next few weeks, so stay with us.
Hmm.
And if you want to appear with us, just send us an email. We'll
Yep.
we'll lay it all out.
Yeah, we're not scary. We'll
and
treat you like we treat each other.
and by the way, this is not psychotherapy. We're just applying some principles and seeing if they fit. That's all we're doing.
So good. Alrighty. Well, thanks for joining us for another week. We hope you all have a great weekend and see you soon.
All right. Bye bye.